Hello there and welcome once again to The Verdict. I'm Mick Cornett along with Kent Myers. We're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues. And today we're going to learn more about a new offering in Oklahoma City that's long overdue and I think will have a real impact socially.
Well, I agree. The Family Justice Center that just opened recently combines a lot of disciplines, all for a purpose of helping families, kids, parents, other relatives, and it's a conglomeration of people who know what they're doing and are really rendering wonderful service already to the city of Oklahoma City, and I know they will for years to come.
The Family Justice Center, that's the topic today on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
During my time as Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Department of the Interior, I witnessed a fundamental transformation in the government-to-government relationship between tribes and the United States. What I hope is that history has turned a corner with Indian tribes. My name's Kevin Washburn, and I'm a professor of law at the University of New Mexico School of Law, and I'm a Chickasaw. The joy of my life is teaching students, sending them out in the world to help take care of their communities. And federal Indian law is a powerful force for that because the law often is on the tribe's side. My Chickasaw lineage comes from my mother's side of the family. I know she had some rough times, but there's such a tremendous sense of pride now because we have really come a long way since those times. The Chickasaw Nation has always been about helping people to help themselves. And today, it's Chickasaws taking care of Chickasaws. I don't look like a Native American necessarily, but I am a full citizen of the Chickasaw Nation, and I'm very proud of that.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofanation.com.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Today we're really pleased to welcome to the set of The Verdict Tricia Everest. She is the president of the board of the Family Justice Center of Oklahoma City. She's an attorney. She used to be an assistant attorney general for a number of years. She was in private practice a while. She has had many volunteer activities and for commissions and boards. She has distinguished herself wonderfully in each of those positions, and she has now recently taken on this additional responsibility with the Family Justice Center. Tricia, glad to have you.
Thank you very much, Kent.
To my right is Kim Garrett, the executive director of the Family Justice Center. Kim has worked in victim services for about 15 years. She has been honored for the excellence of her performance in a number of areas. She's worked tirelessly over this period of time for the underprivileged and the people who are subject to domestic violence, homelessness, and the like. She is making her first appearance on The Verdict. Kim, welcome. Glad to have you.
Thank you for inviting us.
I'm guessing that a lot of people watching the show have heard the term Family Justice Center. They probably can't define it as well as you could. Tell us, in your words, what is the Family Justice Center?
Sure. In essence, the Family Justice Center is a one-stop shop where agencies are co-located, so cops, prosecutors, nonprofits, advocates, mental health professionals, medical professionals, all in one united partnership to help victims of crime.
And so crime, is it primarily domestic violence?
We actually serve several different types of crime categories. We have domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, human trafficking agencies on site, and
elder abuse.
And elder abuse, thank you.
Tricia, with your background in law enforcement, what gap is this filling?
Oh my gosh, Mayor, it's filling a number of gaps. But for one, we have the social services are located, the domestic violence police unit is located, we have the district attorney's office, and legal aid has lawyers on site for all of the civil matters. And one of the things that we've noticed with the efficiency is to have lawyers and support services at the same table at the same time. So not only is it great for the clients that come through the door, but it's also good for the volunteers and the different people who've been helping clients in their own siloed areas are now actually working together, so that, you know, if we're creating policy that the lawyers actually implement, then we can do it in real time. So we have a lot of sayings of, well, I need to speak to a lawyer about the guardianship issues or my children's issues or a divorce issue, and instead of setting an appointment, someone just calls the office next door and they come down. And so the efficiency of time alone and services working together is unprecedented in Oklahoma City.
I'd like to ask a question of each of you to get your individual responses. How did you get involved, and how did you get involved?
Mine, I just got involved by the grace of God. But as you know, and working with you before with Oklahoma Lawyers for Children and having a different past and working with programs that can help, if we have generational change, which is very hard to do, I think, in our society today with instant media, we need to have a change and a fix tomorrow. But if we can work on those programs that change for the next generation, which will come from a lot of private-public partnerships that can work behind the scenes, and gratefully from working with you and working with the different people, I've worked with Chief City. Most
That's
recently,
Bill City,
for Oklahoma City Police Department, and after I was chair of the Reemerge program, or diversion for women with children and or pregnant from prison, he came up and called me and said, have I got a project for you? And he goes, and I want you to meet Kim Garrett. And so Kim can give the background on Chief City.
Kim, you were seeing this from the ground level.
Yes. So I have worked with crime victims all of my adult career, and I love it. I've worked with a myriad of different crime victims, and so I started victim services at Oklahoma City Police Department 5 years ago, and I quickly saw that we've got great resources in our community, but they're disjointed and they're far away. And so when families are in crisis, when they're overwhelmed, when they have physical injuries and things like that, small barriers become insurmountable for them. And so what they would do is give up and go back. And so then we just see the violence escalate. And so I approached Chief City about it in 2012. And at first he said no, not because it wasn't a priority, but it was just resources and things like that. And so I kept going back, and he is literally the angel who pulled this all together and brought the advisory board together of key leaders from our community, and we did a needs assessment and said, is there really a need in Oklahoma City? Would this model benefit our community? Because this is actually a national model, and what they said unanimously was yes. And then we pulled in survivors and we said, what do you want? Because this is for you. And they all said, we want to go one place. We don't want to keep going all around town and getting overwhelmed. And so it was really an amazing collaboration.
What are the resources there? How many people can you help in a given day or a given week?
That's a good question. So we've got 15 on-site service providers right now, which is really exciting. And we have more coming in as our partners are saying, we need adult protective services, or we need this resource. More people are coming to the table. So we did a soft opening in January and did not advertise to anybody, and we had 42 walk-ins, which doesn't seem significant. But then you fast forward, after our grand opening, we had 60 walk-ins in 3 days, and that's not including children, and that is just growing day by day.
Well, I know there's probably no typical, because there's so many diverse needs, but kind of give us an example of someone who might come in. What type of person would come in and seek these services?
It's across the board. There's a lot of domestic violence. There's a lot of families where children have been exposed to violence and they don't know what to do. Their kids are acting out. They're having problems in school as a result of the trauma, and the school doesn't really know how to respond. The parents don't know how to respond, so they're coming in. We've had a human trafficking case recently. People seeking support with civil legal is one of our top resources.
And this is a public-private partnership?
It's a public-private partnership. As kind of in addition to that, we've been able now to file or to fill out protective orders, and so that will bring a lot of individuals in. And then when they come in, just so that you will kind of have a general idea, come into a beautiful reception area, and they're greeted by a receptionist or a navigator, and then they come through secured doors. And so whoever the client is, we will come in and really let them know that even if they're there for a protective order or just to see a civil attorney, that we kind of let them know of the concierge of services, that there's different things available that they may have been afraid to do, even filing a police report. So we had an elderly man come in before we had ever opened the doors, which I thought was a good sign. We wanted to make sure that everybody felt comfortable coming, of all ages and of all different backgrounds. As an addition, I want to add that we have Rainbow Fleet has built a model classroom or a model playroom so that people can bring their children. So children don't have to see the emergency rooms anymore. They don't have to see the courthouses, police departments, be taken around by the various transportations and waiting rooms. And so it's really nice that we're able to put them in a very colorful environment while their loved ones are receiving different services. We are an independent board, which is a little bit different from the national, the way the model started. It used to be started by support services, police departments, or district attorneys' offices. And when Chief City and Kim were working together, I represent an independent board, so none of our board members are program, we don't represent any program, and that has allowed us for a lot of the private support and for a lot of, almost kind of the neutrality to help really globally look down on the different agencies and help figure out ways that they can work together. So we charge the agencies by telling, whether it be the state agencies like Department of Human Services or whether it's any of the other individual groups in there, and the Oklahoma City County Health Department's in, that we get to bring the community to them, and we get to individually bring what they do and have worked so hard in their own silos to the community and really elevate. And so that's more of how the private side is coming in, is that we're able to partner in ways that haven't been able to be partnered before. We don't have the limitations that would have otherwise been.
Tricia Everest and Kim Garrett are with the Family Justice Center. We'll have more when we get back.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
Say that we named it.
Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Tricia Everest and Kim Garrett are here to talk about the Family Justice Center. And Kim, we were talking during the break about just the level of domestic violence that takes place in the state of Oklahoma, and in Oklahoma is something that we're continually working on. And this center is kind of at the front line and trying to help us navigate. Give us an estimate of the size of the problem.
Well, Oklahoma has a significant problem with domestic violence. We continuously rank as one of the worst states in the United States for women killed by men in domestic situations. Further, in Oklahoma City, we typically lead the state with our bad numbers of domestic violence homicides and calls for service. Last year, Oklahoma City had over 36,000 calls to 911 that were domestic related, and 78% of those had kids involved in the home. And so what you're really talking about is a profound generational issue, and what we know is this violence and trauma impacts not only public safety, mental health, things like that, but a lot of social issues that we have in our community: homelessness, poverty, substance abuse, things like that are all directly correlated to trauma exposure as a child. And so there's a big problem in our community, and so that's why we're here.
And there are repercussions from this activity that filter down, increase the responsibilities of government to try and sort these things out. And ultimately, it plays into the criminal justice system and the number of inmates that we have.
Absolutely.
And the number of people that might ultimately be on government assistance in the next generation. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot of good reasons to try and address this sooner rather than later.
Absolutely. So intervention is key, because what the data has consistently said is about 80% of kids from these families will go on to be a victim or a perpetrator without any intervention. And so the time is now. Like, if we want to change the trajectory of our community, we've got to start trying something different if we want a different outcome.
Tricia, talk a little bit about your physical location. Where are you located? Describe what it looks like and how
Sure.
the agencies are either together or separated.
Thank you, Kent. Mickey Clegg and Bob Howard have generously allowed us to use a building in Midtown. We're located at 1140 North Hudson. Used to be Community Care and North Care, and a while back it was a publishing or a warehouse for magazines. So 1140 North Hudson. We have named the building Palomar. We wanted a place where victims or if our clients didn't feel like they were in a crisis mode. We didn't want to highlight what was missing, like a hope center, because we'll take everyone exactly where they are. And if they come in, we'll help build them up and build them stronger.
Why Palomar?
Palomar is a fishing knot. And when the strands are brought together, it's the strongest, most reliable knot. So we feel that that's symbolic in our organizations coming together. And it just sounds softer. I'm going to Palomar. My life changed after I went to Palomar, but bringing those knots together. So all of the clients are always on the ground level. We have 2 floors, and so they will never go upstairs where the offices are. And we have different intake rooms. We have a shared room. We have a computer lab. We have different services. We have rooms for therapy. We have medical around on that first floor as well for future sexual assault exams and different medical needs that arise. All of our partners are located on the 2nd floor. And even though they are kind of grouped together, they are in a circled area, so we have shared conference rooms, shared break rooms, can help create a beautiful Zen room for our partners to be able to relax, and we have a game room with ping pong and really building ways where the different groups can start to intermix kind of socially in a relaxed, casual environment and be office together. It's been really nice to hear when the court advocate will say, well, I have a question about legal. Many times the victims don't have representation for protective orders. And the volunteers that have been helping them don't have the legal knowledge. And so I remember the advocate saying before she moved into Palomar, and she said, where can I set up an appointment? And the legal aide said, your office is 5 doors down. You just come in anytime. So the 2nd floor is really used for that exchange. But again, 11th and Hudson.
Let me change the subject, specifically change the subject. Oklahoma continues to incarcerate more women than any state in the union. Do you think that work that you're doing here will have any impact on that incarceration rate?
I actually, Tricia and I have had many conversations about this. I do believe it will, because when people feel that there's other options, when they can access resources easily, they're not as apt to commit crimes. They're not as apt to make bad choices. People tend to follow the path of least resistance, and if it's hard to access resources, they're not going to do it. And so I really do think long term, and this is a long-term investment for our community, we will see better results.
What would your message be to the larger community as we continue to combat these social issues? What would you speak largely to people who think this is a situation that other people find themselves in? It would never happen to me, it would never happen to someone in my family.
That's sweet and very naive, but when we look at the calls for service and we see the 36,000 calls, there's a map and it shows that it's spread throughout our entire community. And people tend to think it's those people who look different or that have a different socioeconomic background and things like that, and that's just not the reality. I think that's an easy way to minimize and ignore a very serious social issue, but This is not something that's going away. We're seeing our numbers increase. And so I think it's important that everybody feels that there's some type of ownership. You do know somebody in your family who's affected by it, and somebody that you care about, either it's somebody you work with or go to church with or associate with at the grocery store. People are profoundly impacted by violence, and so knowing that you also have a role in the prevention and intervention. It's not just for police to intervene, but we also have a human issue that we have to respond with empathy and respect and kindness and stop ignoring this problem because it's only getting worse.
What should we do if we suspect something might happen? We're not sure, but we suspect someone that we know might be a victim.
Talk to the person. I mean, just a genuine heart-to-heart of how are you doing? I've noticed, whatever it may be, and I'm here if you need me. Can be really helpful, and then connecting them with resources if they're interested.
We've done a show or two in the past about the care center in Oklahoma City. How do you interact with the care center?
I love the care center. I was actually on the board for 3 years.
Well, start out by reminding our viewers what the care center is and does.
Okay, the care center is the child abuse response and evaluation. They do forensic interviewing for children who have been sexually abused, physically abused, or neglected in Oklahoma City. And we actually just had a meeting with them last week about how we're going to jointly respond to these families, because oftentimes in domestic violence, the violence doesn't only impact the partner, but also the children. And so how we can design a better response together. And also we're hopeful that long term when we build our phase 2, our development of the future, that they will co-locate, because many of these families are the same families, and it just makes sense to be more victim centered and have everybody at the same location.
Let me ask you a question about, we've had Jan Perry on the show a time or two about the WCA's domestic violence program. Is Jan involved?
Jan is involved. So she has served on the advisory council from the very beginning, and the YWCA has moved one of their units into this building. So they are a part of this project. Jan has looked at this model historically. There was about 15, 16 years ago, and quite frankly, Oklahoma City wasn't poised or ready for it. So she's been an integral part, as the YWCA has. So they have their some of their nurses and their support staff and their therapists and their court advocate. Their court advocate's probably the right name, is located inside the building. So it's a partner when you look at for domestic violence. And then Jan, we're not a shelter, so the YWCA is primarily the shelter services, so we will be able to help transport and provide that back and forth, or provide them to them. So,
good.
Megan?
Kim, typically a woman might not want to report domestic violence. She doesn't feel like she has many options. She might be afraid that it's going to get worse if she reports it. When police are interacting with people who have reported it, aren't we getting a little smarter about how we interact with people and look for signs that this could be a repeatable offense? And yes, this has happened this time, but it's likely to get worse if we don't do something and interject.
Absolutely. So actually, Oklahoma City Police Department does a lethality assessment protocol, which means when they're on scene, they ask victims a series of 14 questions to assess the lethality and the seriousness of the situation. And right then on scene, they connect them with advocates, and ideally, when we get our transportation, they can have them taken directly to the Family Justice Center if they're interested.
All right, we're going to have to wrap it up. I hope you all got all your talking points out. I know I certainly learned a lot about the intricacies of what you all are offering, and hope people will take advantage of these services. And I think if you see one of these two ladies, please thank them for what they're doing for our community. Kent and I will have a final word when we get back, but this has been a show about the Family Justice Center with Tricia Everest and Kim Garrett.
Yeah, thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There are now 11 million of us who live here and work here. I was 15 when I came here 6 years ago. I raised my family here, drive my truck to my job every day. The only difference between now and 6 years ago, I do it legally. I wanted to, because this is my home.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
You have children coming from a different lifestyle, different mindset. You have to open your arms and really do what you have to do to have that child become a part of your family. And if it's more patience, that's what you do. Kids gotta know they can trust you. And that's what we try to do with these kids.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information. And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online. Welcome back to the set of The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers wrapping up a show on Palomar, the Family Justice Center in Oklahoma City.
Yes, a great addition to the city, providing wonderful services to those who are in dire need, and I'm sure it'll be much used and much appreciated.
Encourage people who need services to interact with Palomar. And we have some website information. Now, the first website I'm going to tell you about is on the screen, OKCFamilyJusticeCenter.com. They are transitioning, though, to a new website called PalomarOKC.org. That's PalomarOKC.org. And we have a website. Love to see you go there and tell us about a guest you'd like to see on an upcoming show of The Verdict. That website is theverdict.tv, theverdict.tv. Kent, we also want to talk about Camp Hope for just a moment.
Yes, if you check the websites that we gave you, you'll see a link to Camp Hope. Check on that because that's a wonderful opportunity. It's a camp setting, of course, and it offers great services to people who really need it.
We want to thank Tricia Everest and Kim Garrett for being on this show, and hope everyone is as proud of the Family Justice Center as I am. We'll see you next week on another edition of The Verdict.